Hello and welcome to Lynchburg Live. I'm your host, Linda Smith. My guests tonight are musicians Woody McKenzie and Larry Sakayama. Woody and Larry are members of Blue Ridge Luthiers, an organization of musicians who build musical instruments. Woody, Larry, I'm just so pleased to have you here tonight.
We're pleased to be here.
Thank you.
Great. Before we really get started, could you just explain to our audience what luthiers are? Either one?
Well, the word luthier comes from lute. So originally they were lute builders, but there are lots of different instruments that are similar to lutes. So luthiers are instrument builders.
In particular, stringed instrument builders, right?
I wasn't familiar with the word until I met you, and you told me about that. Now, how did you guys become interested in building instruments?
Well, for me, I've played guitar for longer than I care to admit, and you know, and part of that, and my interest in woodworking, and then you get this crazy idea that's, well, maybe I can build one, and so.
And for me, it was partly because I wanted to play instruments and I was left-handed, and it was hard to find left-handed instruments. So I started thinking, well, maybe I can take this thing apart and put it back together left-handed.
You know, until I met you, I thought just instruments were for anybody. I didn't realize that there was a left-handed instrument and a right-handed instrument.
Well, it's like scissors.
Yeah, scissors.
Yeah.
All right, do you build these instruments exclusively for your own use, or do you sell them? What do you do with them?
Well, so far I've built instruments for my own use and one for a friend who, in fact, asked me, he said he would learn how to play the guitar if I built him an instrument. And he made this request, I don't know, 10 years ago, maybe 10 years before I started building, so maybe 13 years ago. And he said if I would build him an instrument someday, he would learn to play it. So my second guitar went to him.
Do you think he was your inspiration?
I had always wanted to build anyway, but he certainly made me think about it a little more. And I think the instrument that I built for him was built with a lot more care.
What about you, Woody?
Well, I build instruments for fun, and I like to try to build different kinds of instruments. So originally I was building them so I would have something to play myself. I've sold a few, but mostly what I've done is just tried different ideas out. And my daughter has a guitar I built, my wife has a guitar I built, so we've got a few instruments in the family now at least, and a few friends have some of my instruments.
You said earlier now luthier means stringed instruments. Is that all you build is stringed instruments?
Well, I built a xylophone for my daughter, and that was it was a wooden xylophone, so that's not very stringed.
You're building a drum also.
Oh yeah, I'm building a drum.
All right. Well, what other stringed instruments? I know guitars, but what other stringed instruments do you build?
Well,
Here's a good example.
I built this. This is a dulcimer. It's a mountain dulcimer, and also called an Appalachian dulcimer. This is a very, very non-traditional shape. I sort of devised this shape just so that it didn't look like every other dulcimer that was out there.
And this is a very, very special dulcimer because it's made mostly of scraps and pieces of wood that were given to Larry, and he actually won the Scraptacular contest. Did you win it or did you place in it?
I won second place.
Second place in Fine Woodworking magazine, building this instrument out of, what'd you build it out of, Larry?
The top are cedar strips, and you can see the strips in here, which give it the different coloration. The strips were actually leftover wood from a canoe that I made. The back and sides are walnut that one of the other members in the Blue Ridge Luthiers had given me, Chet Dickerson, and he was going to put it in his fireplace because it was falling apart. So the wood was cracking all over the place. So I sort of stabilized it by mixing epoxy with charcoal. And so a lot of the black lines you see in here from the charcoal, and I worked it in with a credit card and sanded it all down, and it seemed to have stabilized it pretty much. So the back and sides are that. The headstock, can I get this in there? The headstock is wood from a pallet. So there's cherry and walnut here. The nut and the saddle are corian from a local cabinet maker, and the fretboard is also from a pallet, walnut.
Now I see why you won the prize. I mean, that's wonderful. It's incredible that you can just take this stuff and make an instrument that's this beautiful. Okay, so this is a dulcimer. You do guitars and banjos as well.
Right. Why don't we show the dulcimer I built, and then we'll show a few of the other members.
Yeah, that'll be great.
How about that one there, Willie?
I'm going to put this right here.
Okay.
Like I said, I build instruments for fun, and this is also an Appalachian-style lap dulcimer, and its back and sides are also made of walnut that our master dobro builder, Chet Dickerson, I acquired from him. And my son saw me building the dulcimer, and he says, you know, you should put an alien head on a dulcimer.
That's what it is.
I went ahead and carved this alien's head, and then another one of our members, Ted Sinowski, helped me, and he built a preamp that fits inside there, and the preamp's connected to a pickup down near the bridge, and so when you play it, I don't know if you can see that or not, its eyes light up.
I hope you can see that, because it's just fantastic. The little green eyes are lighting up. And right here is a spaceship.
Oh yeah, there's a flying saucer inlaid right there.
And that looks like mother of pearl?
Yeah, it's mother of pearl.
Well, that's just fascinating.
But this, like I say, this is just fun to build.
I just think that's so cool with the alien. What else have you got for us?
Let's look at one of those banjos.
You want him to take this over?
Sure, they can get rid of this too. While we're waiting on those other banjos, I can explain this.
Okay.
This is actually a project that was spawned by
We
Woody.
get into arguments
Yes.
about what can be done.
What can be done, and so I plan to build a banjo out of this, and this is made out of staves, like you would build a barrel, right?
Right.
And so this is kind of a non-traditional way of building a banjo shell, and my goal here is to make a banjo that plays like a guitar rather than a banjo. So I'd have 6 strings, but sound like a banjo. Woody also suggested that I make a nylon string banjo, so that's probably what I'll do.
Has anybody done that before? Or is this just an idea of yours?
We don't really know. We just get ideas and try
and do them.
There are nylon string banjos because Jack has built one, right? I don't know if people have built banjo shells this way, but so that's...
Yeah, and here's a beautiful banjo that our member Jack Gellerstedt has built, and he lives right here in Lynchburg. And if you notice, he's inlaid up on the fretboard, which doesn't have frets. This is really an old-time banjo that is fretless, so you have to slide up and down. And he's inlaid a piece of white wood up here, and if you look at the back of it, you can see what the inside of an old-time banjo looks like. They don't have a back on them.
Right.
And they have a dowel stick down through here. And I think the outside of this has beautiful walnut, but I believe he's made this rim out of maple, and he's got walnut veneer and a walnut cap on the back.
It's just gorgeous.
There's a whole lot of work that goes into these, and this is, we don't play banjo, but this is a really fine sounding banjo. Maybe we should look at this other one he built right quick.
Woody, how long does it take to make something like that?
Too long.
I mean, it looks like...
Well, it just depends on how fast you work and what kinds of machinery you have. If you're mostly doing stuff by hand, it takes a really long time. This is a more traditional old-time banjo with frets, and this one is maple. It's got a maple neck, a really nice flamed maple neck, and the pot is also made of maple. You can see in the back. And I think this is copied after something called a white lady, I believe. Look at this headstock inlay. It's got I think it's called a griffin. Is that what it's called, Larry?
The griffin.
Go back up to the headstock there, up this way. Yeah, I think that's called a griffin or something.
Oh, that's
like
just
that.
beautiful.
But this is a very traditional old-time style banjo. And